I think that a lot of students feel behind. Children up to a certain point have their lifespan to connect the dot.
Performance, it's not about intelligence, it's not about motivation, and it's not even about our intentions.
Welcome to N.E.T Collective, where we navigate everything together,
From classroom
to college,
To careers and beyond. I'm Kay McBroody, career coach and founder of Waterville Partners.
I'm Vinita Patel, school psychologist in private practice.
I'm Ruth Hayes, education professional and founder of Fulcio Prep.
N.E.T Collective.
Navigating everything together, one conversation at a time. Hello and welcome back to the N.E.T Collective podcast, where we navigate everything together, from classrooms to college to careers and beyond.
Today's episode is especially meaningful because it's our season 1 finale. Can you believe it? It's what we're calling our capstone episode.
And we actually started talking about this back in December of 2024 and finally launched in February of 2026 with a shared mission. We really wanted to create a supportive, practical resource for parents raising teens and young adults through life's many transitions, and for professionals as well.
And over the past few months in this first season, we've explored topics ranging from executive functioning to writing to career readiness based on each of our professional expertise.
That's right. And today we're going to reflect on what we've learned collectively. We're going to answer a few listener questions and give you a preview of what's ahead in season 2.
And we're going to take a short hiatus this summer, and we hope you enjoy some time off as well, or go back and listen to our episodes. But we're going to plan for our relaunch of season 2 in early September, and we're going to do deeper dives, have some guest experts, and some new conversations to help families continue navigating everything together. Vinita, can you kick us off maybe with some key takeaways on the executive functioning series that you led?
That was one that gained a lot of feedback from our listeners. So yeah, can you debrief for us?
Absolutely. Yeah. When I look back at the episodes that I led, I realized they were all really circling around one central question. That question being, why do capable students, and honestly, capable individuals, struggle to follow through on tasks, struggle to manage their time, start something, which leads to procrastination, avoidance? Why is it that we sometimes forget the things that we just need to do and hold things in our brain, and overall struggle to perform in ways that match our potential? So across these episodes, we talked about our executive functioning skills, which, as you know, I'm super passionate about because they're not just for school, they're really life skills. And our executive functioning skills are the brain's management system. So we had an episode on time blindness and how that impacts time management. There was an episode on planning, like you can have the wonderful plans, but you just can't execute. And what is it that's interfering? There was an episode on working memory. And my favorite, why bright students underperform, because I really think that there's so much there and we just started to scratch the surface. And underneath all of these topics is one big idea, overarching idea, and that is that performance, it's not about intelligence, it's not about motivation, and it's not even about our intentions, because you can have all of those, and many of us do. We all do, right? It's really whether the brain has the systems, the supports, and conditions it needs to access what the person actually knows and what the individual can do. So a thread that connects many of these conversations is, of course, cognitive overloading. Now, that's more surface level, using the resources that are tangible around us, like the checklists, the calendars, the visual timers, the assignment notebooks, etc. And of course, that'll free up that space, right? But the other thread, which I think I want to go deeper into when we think about season 2, is the regulation. So when starting a task, feels overwhelming or too big or the stakes are high, we tend to get emotionally overloaded and our nervous system sees that as a threat. And that's when the avoidance and the procrastination come in. And so that, barrier becomes much bigger. And so we're going to talk much more about shame, perfectionism, and some of those bigger interferences when we look into season 2.
Awesome. That sounds like great. I mean, we covered a lot this season.
Yeah.
But it sounds like next season is going to be even more robust.
I'd like to take it to a deeper level. And are you with me?
Yes. Oh, yeah. There's so far to go. And this has been so helpful for me in my practice because you've given language and structure to so many things that I've worked out intuitively in my own experience or with and from my students. So that's been a great help.
Awesome. And so, Ruth, tell us, how do you put all of your episodes together in one tiny bow, if possible?
Yeah. So when I was sitting down to think about this, the thread that I pulled most prominently was letting go of the past. And so I did the writing series. We talked about all different aspects of that, college essays. We did one episode in test prep, but then after that, it was really focused on the writing process, editing, pre-writing, all of these different situations. So to explore that and describe it, I actually wrote a little short piece that I'll share with you.
How appropriate for Ruth. Okay.
So, I love how we each approach this in our own very Vinita or Ruth way. Yeah. So you're getting a very specific debrief from each of us. So I'll share that. And then just know that moving into the second season, I really want to keep focused on the present moment and letting go of the past. So here's this. I'm struck by the importance of letting go of the past. I don't mean that in a broad psychological sense, but rather in a very practical, actionable sense. When guiding one's child through the college admissions process, test prep and essays especially, it's necessary to let go of one's own often fraught experiences. Doing so allows parents to assess their children's situations accurately and guide them prudently. Similarly, when completing a standardized test, one of the biggest impediments to answering any particular question correctly is a previous question looming in your mind. Letting go of the past is a key element of any successful writing, research, or editing task. To refine your prose, to get better in any meaningful way, requires turning a shrewd and unsympathetic eye to your own work, being willing to slash and burn your own self on the page. You must let go of sentences that once seemed compelling, words that once felt apt, approaches that once felt logical, conclusions that once felt inescapable, to replace and improve them. Letting go of the past includes letting go of self-criticism, disappointment, and doubt. In my dialectical editing practice, I often ask people to find something they've done well and something they'd like to change about any given phrase or sentence or paragraph, to give themselves permission to find beauty and function in work they feel awful about, and to look for room to improve in work that they love. To let go, you can't let that love tie you to words that you don't need.
That's a beautiful essay.
Yes. I mean, what I find fascinating is that every time you speak, you're so crisp and very well thought out, and I typically get to go look up at least one new word.
When you're going to hang out with Ruth, you better bring a dictionary or you better have like your thesaurus app out. That's a really beautiful essay you wrote. And in one big takeaway, what's the big, in one sentence, takeaway from your essay?
Be willing to forgive yourself for things you've done in the past and let go of any words you don't need right now.
Okay.
Words are there for you. There's a semicolon in there, so it's one sentence.
Okay. I'll allow it. All right. Thank you. So Kay, you were the leader for us in the lead with all things career and related to if you wanted to reinvent yourself.
Right.
In that regard. So.
Well, and I did not write an essay, first of all. But one of the themes that I thought was a continuous thread through our career-focused episodes was the importance of self-awareness and connections. Knowing who you are and being able to communicate that in an effective way, clearly and confidently in all aspects of the career journey, that came through. Like it kept popping up. Recognizing what you can and can't control. Like you can take actions in certain things. You can do the preparation, do those types of things. And then there's things you don't know if someone's going to hire you or ask you for an interview, but there are pieces that you can control. And whether we talked about exploring your internal compass and understanding who you were, crafting an elevator pitch, developing a networking strategy, resumes, interviews, the underlying goal was helping students better understand who they were, how they communicate their value, and how to navigate the opportunities with confidence. I really wanted to instill in people, especially people who are new to some of these processes and talking about themselves in pretty vulnerable ways, but you want to sound confident when you're talking about yourself. So in order to do that, you really need to know who you are. So doing some of that reflective piece.
And not just, you said students, not just students, but
everybody.
Everybody, individuals. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And we discussed ways that parents could support their students in these different processes or use the tools themselves. Each one of the career components that we discussed included an element of storytelling. So each of, they were talking about their story, whether it was in the elevator pitch or the interview process, networking. And each of those is a skill that can be improved and practiced with repetition. And with that practice, I think is going to come the self-awareness and the confidence to nail it. So we discussed the importance of understanding your unique internal compass and your values and strengths and interests and hardwiring and what motivates you. And before you make a big decision, if you understand these things, you can take them into account. If you just ignore them, you're going to make a decision, but it may not be in alignment with where you really are going to be effective or where you're going to be happy. And we talked about networking as relationship building. Again, back to that connection piece. It's not transactional. You're not asking for a job. You're actually having conversations. Same thing with an elevator pitch, helping students communicate who they are real clearly and authentically. Resumes, they're not your life story, but you are telling a story, but you're telling something succinctly in the resume that can be read quickly. And then finally in the interview, it's not about perfection. No one knows what's going to come out of your mouth next. And so, but the more you know about yourself and your story, you can go back to your library of stories, your car stories that we talked about, and pull one and have it fit the answer to the question that is being asked. I think when I look at all these in totality, there's one takeaway from the career series, and it's confidence doesn't come from having all the answers. It really comes from preparation, reflection, being willing to learn. And that confidence comes from knowing your story and being able to share it and sharing it very succinctly and effectively. And success is really being able to listen and answer the questions and then ask really good questions, and abandon this whole idea of perfection because it does not exist on the career journey at all. And, just take everything, kind of focus on the progress, one action at a time, one connection at a time, one decision at a time, one story, one thought. It's just, again, those baby steps. And if you keep doing those, and I talk about career hygiene. Like a lot of this is if you can do this on an ongoing basis and build some healthy habits around it, you're going to increase your confidence and you're going to be more productive.
I love the asking the questions because that's when you really get to understand yourself. So I'm really glad we started with the internal compass, obviously, because that just made sense. But listening to that episode, and I've listened to it a couple of times.
Right.
Really, I did. And it helped me understand, I would normally have never asked myself those questions unless I had
we all get so busy. I mean, think about it. We've got all these distractions, all these priorities, all these things to do. And when do we just sit with ourselves and reflect? And so that's why I often ask clients to go slow to go fast. Go slow and do this reflection piece. And it may not feel comfortable, but you're going to thank yourself. Your future self is going to thank you for doing it now.
Right. Awesome. Thank you.
And I love the concept of career hygiene. That really reframed it for me because it's not about doing these kind of disjointed tasks. It's about really incorporating it into your routine the way you would exercise.
Yep, exactly. So maybe we can jump to some questions from our listeners that we've been getting.
Yeah. So one question that has come up, actually, someone wrote it to me, texted it to me, who listens to the podcast, and I think this is a really, really good question. And this is, I I think something that many of our listeners probably are also wondering. So here's a question. I would love to hear more of you breaking down when there is a true problem with executive functioning or when it's just normal teen brain developing. I noticed this with my students. This person who wrote this to me is a former teacher and has a tutoring business. So I noticed this with my students, especially with my junior high kids. It's very difficult with 13-year-old boys to determine if there actually truly is an executive functioning issue or is their brains just not fully developing at this point. It would be great if you could talk about specific ways to identify if there's a problem and what parents or teachers can do about it. Okay, that's such a great question because with adolescents, especially junior high students, it's not always easy to know what normal development is and what may be a true executive functioning issue. So the first thing I would say is not whether it's an either or. It's not an either or because both can exist, right? You can have a 13-year-old who absolutely shows normal signs of a still developing brain, but also that student may also have some executive functioning vulnerabilities that still need support. So instead of asking, is this normal or is this a problem? The better question is really, is this behavior happening occasionally or is it a repeated pattern that's interfering with the student's ability to function? And what does that look like? And that distinction really matters. All teens and adults, we forget sometimes. Teens procrastinate. Teens underestimate how long something will take them. They're going to rush through things. They're going to push things off. That's going to happen. But if you pay closer attention, there are 4 things that you want to look at. The frequency of the behavior, the duration of the behavior, the intensity, and the impact. So let me try to quickly take a minute or two to break that down a little clearer. Frequency. How often is it happening? Do we see a pattern? Are they forgetting things continually? Okay. That tells me about its frequency. The duration. How long has this been going on? Is this a new behavior? Is this a new concern? Then we want to probably take a look at the timing of it, what's happening in the person's life, that all of these issues are kind of happening right now. So how long has this been happening? The third is the intensity. How big is the reaction or the breakdown? I mean, there's a difference between missing 2 assignments and missing 12 assignments. So how intense is the breakdown? And then finally, the impact. How much of that behavior is getting in the way of the student's life? Is it impacting their grades? Is it impacting their, ability to communicate with, are they isolating or, is it impacting their self-esteem or family relationships? So when you look at those 4 things in totality, the frequency, the duration, the intensity, and the impact, if all of those are significant or even moderate, then it's really time to say it's not just a typical brain that just needs time to develop. There's really a significant issue here, and there are things you can do about that.
Right.
That makes sense?
Yeah. And one of them might be to get a professional assessment, right?
Yep.
Or talk to their teacher, talk to the school counselor.
You want to up the scaffolding.
Right.
Right. If the typical adult intervention or scaffolding is not enough, or if that adult is doing too much and there's less agency on that particular student, then it is time for more answers.
Yeah.
And that can be in the sense of a neuropsych assessment or talking to a coach or gathering more information from the school, the teacher, So hopefully that answers that question.
That was a good question.
Thanks to my friend, you know who you are, who texted me that question. Okay.
Okay. So one of the questions that I have gotten is, my daughter is a sophomore in college and feels like everybody else already knows what they want to do. She feels behind and overwhelmed. Is that normal? Well, you can fill in daughter, son, whatever, and you could fill in freshman, sophomore, junior, senior. You can fill in high school or college for that question. I think that a lot of students feel behind. And they are overwhelmed by that. And it's extremely common. And career development is iterative. It's not a one size fits all. And it's healthy to explore and to ask questions, and you don't have to know exactly what you want to do. I mean, I joke that not only do I deal with the young adults, but I deal with clients in their 40s, 50s, and beyond that still don't know what they want to do when they grow up. So, or what they want to do in the next chapter. So comparison creates anxiety.
Oh, yeah.
If I know we'll touch on social media next season, but that is really not a healthy tool out there because they are looking at somebody else's lane.
Well, what is that saying? Comparison is the thief of joy.
Exactly. And so I'm like, keep your eyes in your own lane. Whatever somebody else, if somebody's decided that they want to go to medical school and become a neuroscientist or doctor, great, awesome. Is that really what you wanted to do? Just because they know what they want to do doesn't mean you want to go do the same thing. And, if somebody else wants to go be a welder, great, go be a welder. But that may not be what you want to do. So again, quiet yourself, look at your internal compass and figure out what you want to do through exploration. You don't have to know tomorrow. It's not like, oh, if I do these assessments, I'm going to know exactly what I want to do. No, you're going to have more data, more information, and you can make a better informed decision about what classes you might want to take next semester, what activity you may want to join to help you explore, who you may want to talk to and have these casual conversations
and
with.
The self-exploration can also be for a hobby. Like, oh, I've got some free time this summer, so how do I want to just improve my activity self or things I'd like to do.
Well, and everybody wants to find the perfect path. And it's like, again, abandon that whole idea of perfection and spend some time reflecting. The analogy I use is this is not musical chairs.
Yeah.
It's not like the music's going to stop and you have to know exactly you got to know where the one chair is that you're going to fit. I'm like, no. You can comfortably fit in many chairs and don't worry about where everybody else is sitting. There will be plenty of chairs for you to explore.
Yes.
So,
right.
And
anyway,
I love that idea that you don't have to be going in a straight line to be moving in the right direction. You can let yourself explore.
I've used this analogy before, but the connect the dot. And I always say that, children up to a certain point have their lifespan to connect the dot. And at some point, they take the pen and they decide where the next dot is going to be placed. And if they don't like where they put that next dot, put the next one someplace else. And it doesn't have to be that far away. The dots can be close. You remember those pictures when you could see them as you were little? Some of the dots were really close together and some of them were really far apart.
I loved those.
I know.
Yeah.
So again, just put your next dot in a different place. Explore someplace different. So for the, parent who feels that their student, freshman, sophomore, junior, senior, son or daughter is, feeling overwhelmed and lacking confidence and wondering if they're normal, they're normal.
Yeah.
In my humble opinion.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah. Ruth, what about you?
So my question is a little bit broader, and I'm going to wrap us up with this one. I've been asked by a lot of different people how we come up with our topics. And that's something I would love to close on because one of the most important things, probably the most important thing I've gotten out of this whole project, just in terms of my own personal development, is my relationship with you two ladies. And everything that we discuss, it comes out of our experiences, our professional expertise, our experiences before we met each other, but also all of these conversations that we've been having now over the course of years. And, going into the next year, I'm really excited about putting together some of the ideas that we've been kicking around in these conversations, broadening our scope to talk more about things that are happening in current events and out in the world, things that are of concern to adolescents and young people, because there's all kinds of things going on with them right now. But I'd love to pull you in too and see what do you think is important about our process, and what would you like to share?
I love the collaboration and the fact that we know that we could potentially host a podcast individually and stay in a lane. What I really like is the intersection of how we not only professionally intersect with each other, but also we're all parents. We all have children. And we all have clients that are young adults. And so we come at this from so many different lenses that I think that's been one of the benefits of doing this collectively. I mean, we talk about navigating everything together. I mean, literally, that's what we've been doing.
In our name.
That's the entire process.
Right. So that to me has been one of the most interesting pieces. And because we can pull from our personal, we can pull from our friends, we can pull from our family, we can pull from our clients. We have so many different topics that are swimming around us daily.
Yes.
And our topics are unique. And so not everyone is going to listen to every
episode.
Every episode. It depends on what you need. So there's a little bit something for everyone. And to answer your question, Ruth, for me, it's really been about the learning. Not only from, every time I do an episode or prepping for an episode, I'm learning about myself, but learning from the two of you and what you have taught me about the whole navigating the career portion of it. I mean, informational interviews, I feel like we're doing that all the time. I didn't realize that that's what I was doing.
Right.
And Ruth, I've got 2 boys that are going to be doing the college search and writing essays and all that. So that's been wonderful to learn about. And to me, one of my central hopes for N.E.T Collective is to give our listeners better language, tools, and in a more compassionate way to understand what's really going on with themselves and with their students. And I feel like this platform has certainly, I think, given our community that.
Yes,
absolutely.
Yeah. And so with that, thank you all for spending season 1 with us. Whether you joined us as a parent, an educator, a student, or supporter, we are truly, deeply grateful to be part of your journey.
And we will be back in September for season 2 with new conversations, fresh perspectives, and more tools to help families navigate life's many transitions together.
Until then, keep navigating everything together. Onward. If today's conversation resonated with you, please share this episode with anyone who may need it and follow us at netcollective.org or wherever you get your podcasts so you won't miss what's next.
We are
N.E.T Collective.
Navigating everything together, one conversation at a time. Thanks for listening.